So I feel like there's no definitely a better country, a country which is better than the other country. It's just you need to find what you can accept because you cannot have everything to be positive. There's something that you need to decide. Okay, this is the cons, but I can take it. So for me, Japan is that choice. If you choose to escape from your country, actually that's also kind of like you step out of your comfort zone, right? So you don't need to describe yourself as like escape. And like you said, I did mention the way that you can think of it if you want to escape or if you want to work.
Why people think that work hard is actually a virtue, a value, right? Hey guys, welcome back to Backstreet Japan. 2026. So we are challenging something new here. Today, this is our first ever English podcast, and we have a guest here from Taiwan, and he is Mao. Welcome, Mao. Good evening. How are you doing?
Good, good, good. Actually, I forgot your name. Can I have your name as well?
Yeah, my name is Wira. I'm the host today. So talking about work, actually, Ma, our channel is mainly about career, especially
Yeah,
for originally for people who are interested in Japan. So let's talk about your background a little bit. You have been living in many countries, right? You have been living in Taiwan, Japan, Singapore, and Malta, right?
yeah, exactly. Thanks for memorizing all of my backgrounds correctly. Actually, also South Korea.
So five countries, South Korea.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. For the past 7 years.
I see. It is pretty rare actually for us to meet somebody who, who have been living in so many places, and especially you live in many Asian countries, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly. I think it also depends, sometimes depends on some luck that you can really travel, work, live in different kinds of countries.
can you give me some background? Like when you were living in these countries in Asia, were you working or were you
Yeah,
like
yeah.
studying?
So it's a bit complicated. I will try to make it as clear as possible. So I started my first overseas career in Japan by working holiday because there's an agreement between Japan and Taiwan. So you can go to Japan with this working holiday visa for 1 year and you can do everything you like. You can just play, you can just travel, you can work every single day. It depends on whatever you want to do. And
Mm.
after that year, I went to Singapore because I got an offer from integrated resort in Singapore. It's called Resort World Sentosa. So I was working there in casino for 2 years. And then the COVID happens and I just didn't really like Singapore because it was too small and because of the pandemic, it was locked down. So I had no choice but to stay at home every single day. So I decided to quit my job in Singapore and then brought all of my money to South Korea to study Korean because that's also
Mm.
kind of my dream because I think you may know that the grammar between Japanese and Korean is quite similar. So I decided to give me a gap year. So I was staying in South Korea. Sorry, I should say just Korea for another 6 months. And then after that, I got my offer working in Japan. So then I moved back to Tokyo to work
I see.
for around 1.5 year. And then unfortunately, my company decided to close the Tokyo office. So
Mm.
all of us, 30 of us got fired immediately.
I see,
And
I see.
then my previous general manager, she's an Italian and she got the offer in Malta, a small tiny country in Europe. And then she asked me, hey Mal, do you want to come with me? If you don't like it, you can just tell me and you can work remotely from Asia anywhere in the world.
I see.
But why not give you a 2 year journey in Europe? So I was like, yeah, let's go. Because everyone said the life in Europe is amazing. They have great work-life balance. So I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
see if that's true or not. So I also believe that's also kind of the topic that relates to
yeah.
today's topic, right? Like work-life balance.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
Okay.
much.
There's a lot to talk about, and you will be coming to Japan again, right? As a graduate student.
Yeah, next September, Waseda. I'm looking forward to it.
I see. I'm curious actually. I don't know how should we begin. Maybe we let's talk about Japan first, right? What
Yeah.
makes you interested in Japan and coming back to Japan again and again and again, right?
Wow. That's a really good question, to be honest. So first of all, after living in Europe for 2 years, I realized I didn't get used to it really much. I know the work-life balance is great, everyone enjoys their life, but for me, family matters more. And from
Mm,
Europe to Asia, it took me always like 18 hours flight, and it's quite pricey in terms of the flight ticket. So that's one of the reasons I decided to come back to Asia. And I need to work, right? I was not born in a super rich family, so I need to find a good job to
mm,
work.
mm,
And unfortunately, how to say, the most popular industry in my hometown in Taiwan is like semiconductor. And I
mm,
don't like it. I just cannot imagine how can I be happy by doing a job related to semiconductor. Sorry,
mm.
no offense, just my personality doesn't fit that well. So I really wanted to do something related to marketing. And since I was working in Japan, in Tokyo, in the marketing role, and I enjoy so much, and there's some connection between Taiwan and Japan. So I hope I can use this kind of skill and my language skills to do something marketing between Japan and Taiwan in the future after graduation.
I see.
So I mean, far away from Europe, and I couldn't find a job that I really like in Taiwan. And Japan is a place I think for me, for myself, that fits the most. So that's why I
I
decided
see.
to come
I
back.
see. Okay. When we talk about, let's say, career in Asia, right? I
Mhm.
mean, some people around me, they are, let's say, the grass is always greener on the other side. For example, I have some friends, some friends who says, Singapore looks good, the economy looks better from the outside, and life looks great because the economy is good. But then I also have some friends actually who were in Singapore, and then they say, and they are now in Japan, and then I ask them, oh, some people told me that Singapore is, better economically or something like, but why are you in Japan? Something like that. And when you see this, let's say I mean, I'm only seeing it from the outside, right? Because I only experienced Japan. But when you see it firsthand, like Taiwan, Japan, Korea, and Singapore, all of them are, I guess, developed countries, right? And they from the outside, they seem to be prosperous, right?
Mhm.
How do you feel in these places? Do you feel that they are actually, prosperous, or maybe there is some inside tips that we don't know.
Mm, I would say when I moved to Japan, when I left Taiwan and moved to Japan, I only live in Taiwan and Japan. So at that time, I feel like, oh, Taiwan sucks. Japan is wonderful. But after
Mm,
living more than 3 countries and working in 3 countries, more than 3 countries, I feel like it's a bit, how to say, I realize one thing that there is no better country, but just the country that fits yourself more. Let's say in Japan, the good thing is, okay, the food is good and their transportation there is amazing. But on the other hand, to build a relationship with Japanese people is not that easy. So, but for me, that part I can handle. So I feel like Japan for me is quite good and it fits myself. And like you said, Singapore. So Singapore, the pros would be they make lots of money, and their tax is super low, like 5%. However, on the other hand, you have to bear the boring life because it's a tiny country with loads of only shopping mall. And whenever people are spending their free time, most of their topics would be around money or career. But for me, I prefer talking about maybe like your background, like where did you take this
mm,
amazing bamboo forest,
yeah,
and which temple I can go, what kind of anime I can see, I can watch. So for me, Singapore is not my place. And for Europe, as I mentioned, they have great work-life balance. Their social pressure is quite low. However, in terms of the distance, I think it's just too far away from my family.
I
But
see, I see.
by living in Japan, it only took me around 3 to 4 hours to reach Taiwan. So I feel like there's no definitely a better country, a country which is better than the other country. It's just you need to find what you can accept because you cannot have
Mm,
everything to be positive. There's something that you need to decide. Okay, this is the cons, but I can take it. So for me, Japan is that choice.
I see,
But
I see.
if I didn't have this chance to visit these 5 countries, I won't know what I don't like, what I can accept, and what I really love. So
I see. So you got to explore to understand as well what actually fits you
mm,
well. I see. I
exactly.
see. And talking about let's talk about Asia for a moment, right? So Japan, Taiwan, Korea, and Singapore, right? Arguably these countries they are influenced by Confucius culture, right? And I'm just wondering here, right? Of course, you interact with the local people, right? What kind of mindset that they actually have such that their country can become prosperous? Maybe, I mean, maybe the definition of prosperous is a little bit different in these countries, right? Maybe for Japan, prosperity means safety, let's say,
Mhm.
or maybe like yeah, like you just mentioned in Singapore, prosperity means money. Like, how does these countries define prosperity?
Mm. Wow, that is a really tough question.
Tough question,
So,
yeah,
yeah. So your question is how do they define if they are a prosperous country, right?
yeah.
So in my opinion, how to say that? By the way, today's sharing, it all depends on my subjective opinion.
Of course, of course,
So feel free to discuss even further because I like to discuss this kind of values, cultures, history.
yeah.
So, so I would like to categorize Taiwan and Singapore to be together and Japan to be aside. So I would like to talk about Taiwan and Singapore first. So
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, Taiwan, Singapore, their common point, one of the really important common point for these two countries is that most of their race is Chinese people
Mm,
and their ancestors, most of their ancestors are immigrants. So I would say because they are Chinese, they are immigrants. So sometimes making money is like kind of like survivorship. So you need to have money to be able to survive. You need to have money to find a food for yourself tomorrow. So making money is super important for Chinese people, especially if they are immigrants, because they are new to this country. They need to make money. Also, for these two countries, their taxation policy or system is like really low. So let's say if you earn $100 in Japan, I don't know, maybe you need to pay around 35, 40% in terms of tax, depends on your salary. But in Taiwan and Singapore, mostly around 10%.
mm,
So you know that after you getting old, after you retire, there's not much money to cover your life. So what you need to do is you need to make money as much as possible. And I believe Taiwan chose a path which is related to technology, semiconductor, and Singaporean they chose a path which is related to finance. So that's something that I feel like the common point between Taiwan and Singapore when it comes to making money, this thing.
mm,
However, there must be difference, right, between Taiwan and Singapore. So in my opinion, Taiwan, when it comes to business, prosperous, there's an issue for Taiwan, which is we are not an recognized independent country. So when we try to take part in some international organizations, let's say WHO or WTO. We are in WTO, but we are not in WHO and some other international business trading organization. We are not allowed to join because we are not on the list of United Nations. So that is the case. If you want to work with Taiwan, you need to risk yourself sometimes because you know there's another country. They might because of your saying. I believe in Japan now the news is keep saying like, oh, because Japanese prime minister say something to support Taiwan. If there's some danger happen between Taiwan and the other countries, Japan might send their military and just make the other country piss off. And that's a risk you need to have when you want to work with Taiwan. So compared to Singapore, Singapore is small and they have their country developed, or sorry, not developed, sorry, established in 1965, which is quite late. Also their founder, the national father or the founder of Singapore, is quite how to say smart and well organized. So most of their systems, welfare systems, because they founded that system only in 1965, so it catch up the trend and it
mm,
make the whole country just really prosperous, in my opinion. And for Japan, I would say Japan, people might say, okay, Japan is really details oriented. But in my opinion, Japan is because in the very beginning, Japan had an island. And in terms of the natural resource, they have quite limited natural resource. And compared to other countries, I believe compared to Euro countries, their population is also quite small. So, I mean, even though now they have 123 million, but in the beginning, I believe that's much lower. So you need to be, how to say, innovative. You
Mm.
need to be innovative to think about a strategy that can cover the needs from your domestic market. And because you have limited natural resource, you have to be innovative to do the trade, do the business with other countries. So as time goes by, I feel like Japan, they now today it's because of their innovation as a survival strategy. However, I know some people would say, "Oh, I'm living in Japan, but they are still using the fax machine. They are using the sand everywhere." I mean, it depends on who you want to compare, right? For me, the ticket gate, I in Japanese is kaisatskushi, right? Like you only need to tap your phone without opening any app. You just tap and just go. For me, that's quite advanced. Not to mention the vending machine everywhere, and when you order ramen, you just push some buttons. For me, that's quite advanced. So, in my opinion, Japan nowadays, people might say, "Oh, they are not that innovative." In my opinion, that's because for those who were innovative in the beginning, because now they are getting older, they are getting older, and they prefer using the same way like they did before.
Oh, I
So what
see.
I wanted to so what I wanted to say is because Japan started this process quite earlier.
I see.
So that's why nowadays you see, it's a bit slow. They don't want to change. But that's the stage. Like Taiwan, we are now quite innovative. We're not trying to do everything. But maybe 2020, we are not doing this in Taiwan. But for Japan, maybe they already did it in 1900, wherever. I mean, that's another history path. But anyway, when the Americans send the warship to Japan, they open the country and apply the Western technologies, blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
So I would say,
the Industrial
yeah,
Revolution, right?
yeah, exactly. So that's my idea.
I
So
see.
for Taiwan and Singapore, we are now still in the stage where we can run, we can dash, we can embrace the technology. But for Japan, they already did it. So for those who had the power nowadays, they prefer to use their own way to do because they
I
already
see.
did the innovation back like 80 years ago.
I see. I heard also the same saying that actually like innovation comes from necessity, right? And you basically saying
Mm,
these countries they are prosperous because it is a necessity for them so they can survive in the I don't know due to geographical situations and due to and other sort of situations, right?
yeah, correct.
When we talk about Asia, right? There is this is a little bit there are two sides of talk about Asia. The first talk is about work that Asian people work so hard, but they don't actually not so productive at work. And the other part is that on the other side, you talk that Asia works so hard, but you also say that these people actually do something meaningful. I think you probably heard this about Ikigai, you know. Oh my God, I'm so cringe about that. But by the way, what do you think about that? Do you think Asian people, these countries like Taiwan, Japan, Korea, Singapore, all of them work so hard, or actually they also work so hard. All of them work so hard, but they the definition of is probably a little bit different, right?
Well, in my opinion, because I think when you mention working hard, you must find someone to compare, right? So in this scenario, I will choose European because I was working in Europe. So I wouldn't include American in my whole sharing because I never worked, I never lived in America. So I will just mention about Europe. So actually, I agree regarding your productive part. If you divide your work with the total working hours, exactly, Asian, they don't work that productive because sometimes they need to just sit over there and wait for the manager to leave so that they can leave. However, in my opinion, after working in Europe for 2 years, I would say Asian are definitely super much more productive than European
More productive
because
actually.
yeah, more productive than European. So in my opinion, the economic performance in Europe now is getting down lower and lower. So that's why you can see many like international companies, they fire people in Europe or in USA. Instead, they hire people in Asia. Of course, our salary is lower and we work harder. And one of the reasons I think why European, when you compare the staff, the employee in Europe and in Asia, why I say European has less productivity is because how can you compete against Asian companies when you have 30 days of annual leaves for every single staff in Europe, while in Asia, maybe in Taiwan, only 10 days of the annual leaves. And also in Europe, because their taxation system is quite well established, which means it's super high. So I would say in Denmark, actually the taxation starts from 45%.
Mm,
So people there, they don't really want to like, oh, I want to get promotion. I want to become a manager. I want to get my salary higher because sometimes there's a gap. So if you don't exceed certain amount of your salaries, actually you earn the same amount of your team member, even you are the manager, because the taxation is just so high.
mm,
So I think it also makes European feels like, oh, I don't need to work that hard. I have 30 days of annual leaves. Even I work hard, I still get the same salary as others. So why I just enjoy my life?
mm,
And that's the reason why I feel like, oh, European they are not as productive as Asian. Because you can never be as productive as Asian if you have 20 days more annual leaves than Asian people.
I
And
see.
on the other hand, I think one of the key reasons why in Japan, I think the conversation we had before,
Mm,
you mentioned about karoshi, right?
yes,
Like Japanese people that tend to work until then and they did suicide on Monday because they think, oh, another week is coming. If
yeah.
I die now, I don't need to work the rest of the week. So I feel like you have to stop the situation where you change or you improve your labor law because in Europe, uh, British, the UK, they have the least annual leaves, 22 days a year. And even you may say, oh, even we increase our annual leaves to 20 days in, let's say, in Taiwan, some companies, they will not just follow. However, because the labor law is already there. So for those who choose not to follow will be minority, in my opinion. And so that's why I really suggest, like in Asia, like we work a lot. But if you want to have work-life balance, the government needs to be the one to start this conversation by changing the labor law.
Mm.
So I don't know if this answers your question, or you want to ask me any follow-up question about my answer
It
or
does. I
about
want
my
to ask
reply.
follow-up question. Like,
Yeah.
you mentioned this, right? There is a trade-off, right? When you say, okay, maybe what you are saying was economic productivity as a country, right?
Mhm.
Versus the okay, you are more, let's say you produce more goods or you produce more things and you produce more services, uh, but at the same time you also need to sacrifice something, right? Like in the case of
Mm.
Japan, like long work hours and so on. Like, but when I see this, like many people say, like I mean, in some countries in Asia, including in my country, like people work long hours. Like, can you point out maybe if there's actually I'm curious, like why this is a culture in Asia? What people why people think that work hard is actually a virtue, a value, right?
Hmm. Well. I I believe it's also something that you just mentioned, the Confucianism. Like you need to respect your senior, you need to show your respect to someone who's elder than you. You need to work hard to some kind of like show respect to your workplace, to your boss. And in my opinion, that's the main reason why Asian people think working hard is kind of like good thing. However, the Confucianism, I checked the word actually. Confucianism. I feel like that one can be promoted around Asia was because it was started in China, and the emperor of China feels like, oh, if I promote this kind of thinking, I can control my people more easily because that Confucianism is talking about you need to work hard, you need to show respect to your boss, your manager. So I think that's why until today, Asian people seem to work harder. We seem to value long working hours more than Europeans.
It's a system that has been in place for such a long, long time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. More than 2000 years, I guess.
Do you think that, I don't know, like which one do you prefer actually, working hard or work-life balance?
Well, you will know my answer. Of course, I don't want to work hard anymore. And I mean, after working in Europe, you just realize European came to this world to see what's going on in this world. They enjoy the world. But after coming back to Taiwan just for like 3 months, so I came back to Taiwan from Europe 3 months ago. I feel like people just don't realize what they are doing. I mean, they
Mm,
don't know after, okay, let's say you have your business card. In Japan, many business card, right? So
yeah.
one day, what if someone just took away your business card, which means you lost your job? What's left for you? Like, who are you? And whenever I had a conversation, small chat with my friends in Taiwan, I realized, oh, besides the work and their girlfriend or boyfriends, they have nothing left. And in Europe, there's one common conversation that you can always have, which is traveling. So there are so many conversations you can have with European in terms of traveling, like how was your traveling? Where are you going? What do you eat? What's the culture over there? So for me, I want to do work-life balance job. So also that's one of the reason why I wanted to start my own company after
Mm,
getting a permanent residence in Japan, because I feel like in Asia, if I want to get that kind of job, which is work-life balance, it's quite hard. And I don't want to make big money. The reason I want to start my own company is because I want to follow my flow, follow my pace. So yeah,
so I see. So you mean if you let's say work for somebody else, maybe the work-life balance is hard to achieve in Asia, but if you make your own company, maybe it can. I have this actually story from my friend's company. So the thing is, my friend's company, they are doing some service. Let's say some doing some type of service to other businesses, and they actually the client requests them to do something on the New Year holiday. Then we were asking, right? And then I asked my friend, like, isn't the client should be on holiday as well during New Year? But then no, the client is not in holiday during New Year, so they expect us to not having a holiday in New Year as well.
mm,
I'm not going to say the company name, by the way, but how do you feel about this? Even as a businessman, right? Your client expects you to. There are some clients who expect you to do it, right?
yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, if you are the business owner, you are the founder. I mean, it really depends on how you want to handle this case. Because, like, okay, let's say if this client actually give you so much money. So in my case, I will work for them on New Year. However, I will extend my leaves after this New Year work. So I can control my pace and my schedule. However, if you work for other people, you have no choice but to just accept it and work on New Year without getting any other compensation.
If you get compensation, then it's lucky, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's lucky, and you never know what kind of compensation you will get, right? So in Taiwan, if you work overtime for 1 hour, normally they need to pay you like 1.25 times of your original hourly salary, right? But in Taiwan, it's just okay. You work 1 hour more, so I will give you 1 hour rest, and you
Mm,
accumulate your 1 hour rest to 8 hours rest, which means you can get extra 1 days of annual leaves.
I see, I see.
Oh.
But even if that system is in place, let's say you still miss the family gathering and you miss that.
Yeah, and don't forget the labor law say you need to pay them 1.25 times more than original salary. So you should give them 1.25 hours
Mm,
of annual leaves instead of just 1 hour of annual leaves.
I see, I see. Okay, there is this phrase actually I want to ask you about. Like lately in many podcasts that I see, especially from the Western side, like Ikigai, you know the term, like it is from Japan, right? Ikigai, like it seems there is this Venn diagram, and as if Japanese people really live their life with some sort of like I don't know, like spirituality, or how do you think about Ikigai? Do you think it exists actually in daily life?
Can you explain more about Ikigai? Because to be honest, I never heard it in Europe.
So I mean, ikigai is a term. I mean, normal term in Japanese. Ikigai just meaning like what is your purpose? Like everybody is
Mm.
supposed to be having. Oh, why am I the guest now? Like I mean, in the original meaning of the term in Japan, that is everybody has supposed to have some purpose. Like maybe I
Oh.
have purpose A, you have purpose B. Everybody can find their own purposes, but there is this new book about ikigai and popularize like self-help, like there is this, okay, if you can get paid, if it is your passion, like, and then everything
Ah.
is ikigai to balance everything, right? What do you think about it? Can you balance I don't know, like between balancing between passion, salary, and then what you are good at, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what you love. It's supposed to be like ikigai is the merging between these four elements.
Well, that's a really tough question. So for me, I mean, it's really hard for someone to say, okay, my ikigai is something, something, in my opinion, because the world is changing, keep changing, and your life also keep changing. You never know what will happen tomorrow. So for me, I just, okay, it can also be my ikigai. So my ikigai is wherever I'm unsure with certain thing, I just choose or I just do the thing that make myself at that moment the most happiest. So I will just do whatever that makes me feel the most happy at that moment. I don't know if that can be counted as an ikigai
Mm,
because and you we just talk about the working hours in Asia, right? So how can you find your ikigai if you work 10 hours a day and plus commuting 2 hours? Like you don't even have time to sleep. How can you find out your ikigai? So if you don't, in my opinion, you need to have work-life balance. You need to have time after your work to do something that you like, and then you found out, okay, actually, I don't like it. And after you found out so many things that you don't like it, the one who's left, that is something that you can take it or you like it, and that's how I find my ikigai. So for now,
mm,
I know my ikigai is I want to establish my own company, and I want to do the business related to human resource. And because I was working casino, so I know something is going to happen in Japan in terms of casino. So I want to do something like
mm,
headhunter in terms of that specific area.
I see.
But I wouldn't know what I want to do if I don't have the time after work, because I have the time after work to figure out what I want to do, what I don't like to do. So yeah, that's my thought about Ikigai. I don't know if this
Mm.
answers.
Well, what's your advice for people that say, I mean, I guess there's nothing that we can, I mean, we need to explore, right? Unless we explore, we do know what is our, let's say, sense of purpose is. Like,
Mhm.
what kind of advice would you give to, working people in Asia, especially? How can they find their
Ah.
purpose, or how can they explore with this? You just mentioned it. Like, how can people
Mm.
explore when they actually need to work such a long hours?
Mm, I mean, you are one, you need to, how to say, find a way that you can have your spare time after work. Either you reject your manager's request on working extra, or you find a job which is not that busy. So from my side, I always suggest people to build your LinkedIn profile
Mm,
because that's how I found my dream job. Not dream job, sorry. That's how I found my current super good work-life balance job, which is fully remote, 30 days of annual leave, getting paid in euro, and working hours like 4 or 5 hours a day. So by building up your LinkedIn profile during your spare time, I believe that's something that you can give yourself more opportunities to be exposed in front of people or in front of the HR that you want to be seen. Let's say if you use your LinkedIn, you build up your profile, and one day, I don't know, maybe your dream company is Google, and Google's HR found your resume and they invited you to go on an interview, and that's the moment your life can change a bit. Because I know it's super hard to tell the company, oh, I don't want to do extra work. I don't want to work overtime because you need money to survive. So my suggestion is find a better job. And how to find a better job? Use LinkedIn because it can give yourself much more opportunities. Sometimes not even just in the country you are working, but also can be the working opportunity in another country. And that's how I got my job in Tokyo. I was in Taiwan, but
Mm,
because of LinkedIn, I've got a job in Tokyo and flew over there.
I see, I see. So build it slowly, right?
Yeah.
There is this okay, let's talk about career ladder, right? I want to go back a little bit to education. Like the education system in Asia is absolutely merit-based, right? We can argue it is a merit-based because exams. You don't pass the exams, you go. There is no legacy admission, right? Maybe there are a few interviews, but there is no room for usually there is little room for subjective judgment, right? When you go to universities and schools in Asia, but the education system is practically very merit based. But when we go to the workplace, it
Hmm.
is complete something completely different, right? And for us who grow up in Asia, maybe we find that there is this contradiction in our society, right? Why the education is, so merit based, like you say, okay, be number one, get the highest scores in school, but when you go to the workplace, right? You see that the world actually is 180 degree completely different from your education system. How did you feel, or can you tell me your experience in that
Yeah, yeah,
situation?
yeah. Well, in my opinion, as long as there is human being, there will be relationship. And with relationship, there will be some conflict of your interest. So actually, in my opinion, I don't think it's a bad thing when you mentioned right, the merit based when you were studying, because in my opinion, I consider that system as a relatively fair system because it gives those vulnerable groups, let's say, okay, the family who is poor, they don't have much money, but because of the study, because of the merit, he or she could have a chance to go upper class to study with some other people who have more resource than himself or herself. And in fact, actually, I don't really know about Singapore's university system, but because I was applying for Waseda University, so I actually did some research about this merit base and relationship base. And you
Yeah,
mentioned,
yeah.
yeah. So one of the thing is, in my opinion, I'm pretty sure that in Japan, when they were young, when they were studying, there are some legacy admission because when I was doing the research, I found out Keio University in Tokyo, they have a system where you can start from your elementary school, Keio Elementary School, Keio Junior High School, Keio Senior High School, Keio University,
Yeah.
and you will be surprised. 40% of current Keio University students, they all came from that system. So
Mm,
it's full of legacy admission, in my opinion, and not only Keio, but also Aoyama Gakui, Doshisha, which are quite good university in Japan. They all follow this kind of legacy admission to make 40% of their university students actually came from the same elementary school, junior high school, senior high school.
I see, I see.
However, however, in Taiwan, why I feel like it's fair, in my opinion, because in Taiwan, okay, we just mentioned about that kind of system, right? And that's because KO, Aoyama Gakuin, Doshisha, they are private school. And in Japan, private school sometimes can be considered better than public school. But in Taiwan, it's totally different. In Taiwan, there's no public school. Okay, so national university, 99% of national university in Taiwan are better than the private university. So in Taiwan, if you want to get to a good university, it's always about merit base. There's no legacy admission. So in my opinion, that's fair. So yeah, so
How
that's my
about
answer. That's my answer.
How about at work then? I think many people argue that in Asia, especially in Japan, right?
Mhm.
The workplace culture is very relationship based. Even if you
Ah,
perform, there's a saying, right? A nail that sticks out will be hammered down. You know, there is a saying in Japan which means basically don't stand out, right?
ah, yeah.
How do you feel
And
about that when you work?
yeah, actually, I think it also came back to the Confucianism I just mentioned. Because in Asia, you need to show your respect to your seniority, to your senior, to your manager, so that you don't break the harmony. And yeah, when I was working in Tokyo, I was quite lucky to be honest, because of my industry, the Japanese people there, they don't give a shit to that kind of thing. So we were like, I could even say oha, like the abbreviation of Ohayo gozaimasu to my bucho every day.
Bujo
And I
oha.
can, yeah, I just say, oh, oha, that is. And I can just leave whenever I like. Of course, I will try to be like, oh, Oscar but I will just go, even if my manager is still there. So I think for me, unfortunately, I couldn't share much insight in this topic because I was quite lucky for my whole career path, for my whole career. I didn't go through those kind of situation. So that's why I
Mm,
say use LinkedIn to give yourself more opportunities to explore your future job.
I see, I see.
Because during the interview, you can just ask them what's the company's culture. Of course, you can say, oh, maybe they will lie, but ask him them harsh. Hey, do you have this kind of culture? Blah blah blah. And why you can ask them like this? Because you have many interview opportunities in front of you, so you are not afraid of getting rejected by them.
Mm, I see, see. If you can bring, I don't know, maybe if you can bring one or two things, I don't know. Let's say you have the magical power to make, I don't know, Asia or Japan, let's say Japan a very ideal workplace, right? What kind of
Mhm.
things that you think maybe we can learn from Europe, let's say that we can, this is maybe we can treat our coworkers this way, or maybe this is maybe the culture that we should promote in workplaces to make it, ideal if you can have the magic
Mm.
power to do it.
Wow, wow. Hmm. I don't know if this can be called match power, but I think in Asia they also do that, right? They also did that, right? I don't know. So when I was working in Europe last year, so I joined our department's seminar, like workshop. So all of the commercial people at my company were there, and we were attending some speech presentation given by our vice president. And I was super shocked because someone who is in the same level as me, they just raise their hand in the middle of the presentation and stop the person and ask questions. And the vice president didn't get angry at all. And the interesting thing is that person, okay, so the person who raised the question actually was kind of like against the vice president's presentation. And
Wow.
I was, yeah, and I was like, what the fuck? And he even asked question like, okay, because we had a really huge layoff last year, firing around 500 people. So he said, how do you believe by changing this, you can make sure our jobs can be kept? Something like that. Really super harsh question. And I was so, how to say, I was so shocked. And I also really, how to say, he just gave me, okay, so what my vice president react is like, he took all of the complaints given by my colleague, and
Mm,
then he didn't say, okay, I will check and come back to you. No, he immediately answers his questions in a way that is really neutral. You cannot feel his emotions. And after that, I just feel like this company gave me an impression that you can ask whatever you like. No one will fire you because of your harsh if of your harsh comments. Of course, if your comments are not that productive or doesn't make sense, you might still get fired. But if your question makes sense, and yeah, so if I have magic power that you just mentioned, I feel like I want to have the working environment to become an environment where you can ask whatever you like, and you can Slack or you can send a message to senior manager whenever you like and whoever you like.
I see, I see. Okay, last question, which I
Yeah.
actually think you already answered a little bit. There is this, I don't know, craze or trend, I would say, that going to other country to escape your own country, go to other country to, let's say, to find a better life, or to, because the grass is seems to be greener on the other side, right?
Mhm.
What kind of advice can you give to these people? Like, do you think that the escape is actually a form of, I don't know, a form of solution?
I feel like escape. I forgot the title in Japanese, but there's a Japanese drama, right? They say you don't need to feel shame if you choose to escape.
Oh, Nigehaji.
And yeah, exactly, exactly. So I mean, if you choose to escape from your country, actually that's also kind of like you step out of your comfort zone, right? So you don't need to describe yourself as like escape. And like you said, I did mention the way that you can think of it if you want to escape or if you want to work in another countries, which is building up your LinkedIn profile. And I believe
Mm,
for the listeners or the viewers that you are now listening or watching this video, you must be able to use English. So just register your LinkedIn profile and build it up. And feel free to ask me questions because I'm a super expert in LinkedIn. That's why I wanted to join LinkedIn Tokyo after graduation as my training
oh,
company.
so you
And
say,
if,
yeah,
yeah, sorry.
yeah, yeah, go on, go on.
And if you're under 30 years old, I would suggest you go check the country you want to go and to see if there's an agreement, a mutual agreement between your country and the country you want to go in terms of working holiday. Working holiday is something that I super suggest because visa, I think, as a foreigner working in a foreign country, you need visa. But working holiday visa is a visa that gives you 1 year without any limitation. You can do whatever you
Mm,
like wherever you want to live. So since you have this 1 year working holiday visa, the employer in Japan, they are no, sorry, not in Japan. The employer in those foreign countries, they will be more willing to hire you because they don't need to care or apply the visa for you. So the
mm,
chance for you to get a job or internship or part-time job in a foreign country is considered relatively easier than just find a formal job over there.
I see, I
And
see.
last, if you have some money and you like study, I would say student visa is always the best, one of the best solution because you by study later get a master degree, bachelor degree, you understand the country more, and because you have a local degree, it's also easier for you to find a job because the HR, the human resource in the companies can recognize your academic background more if you have a local degree.
I see. I said that was the last question, but I wanted to ask you one more question because of your
Mhm.
answer. Like, you mentioned earlier at the beginning, right? I just want to tie this to the beginning. Like,
Yeah.
you mentioned that at the beginning you went to Japan, and probably you say, oh, because Japan is better than Taiwan or something. But then you realize that there is no country that is better, right? And probably there is no escape as well, because there is no escape. It's just exploration, right? How how this journey of exploration, like living in many countries, experiencing many cultures, have shaped you as a person?
Okay. Good question. Oof. I think it shaped myself to become a person that is not afraid of changing. And because of this journey, living in so many countries, okay, I moved like in average 2 to 3 times a year, and every 1 or 2 year I move to another country. So I feel like every day for me is new. So it makes myself really curious about this world. I want to explore every single place. I want to go out every single night, single day. I want to cherish every single moment, every single second to find out what's going on in the world and try to know more people. So it make myself, I would say, young with a really young heart. Like I feel like even tomorrow is the last day of the world. I have no regret.
Whoa, that's a very good message, right?
Yeah.
Even if tomorrow is the last day of the world, no regret.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you so much for coming today, Mao. We have talked a lot. I hope the viewers are have good experience listening to us, and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.